Boy State. What a beautiful view from here. In fact, it's a little different than the view I saw yesterday when I spoke to the 650 young ladies of Palmetto Girls State. And they said that they wanted me to bring a message to let you know that they miss you. They are really looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow in Columbia. I'm looking forward to being there with you, too, on the State House steps. It's a great event. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be here. And you heard all the things that I've done, and you realize I've been around for a while. I went to Girls State in 1971, and it played a profound impact on my life. And I have really worked with the program since then. Had a chance to be a junior counselor, senior counselor, director of Girls State. I got involved with the wonderful organization, American Legion Auxiliary, and the Legion that supports these two organizations of Girls State and Boys State. Served as department president, and then had a chance to go on and be the director of Girls Nation and serve in that capacity for several years. But I want to tell you my story very quickly and leave some time for questions to have you give me your suggestions or any questions that you may have about schools in the state. But I want to share with you what I learned at Girls State and how it helped me through my life and career. I ended up going to Girls State from a little small school. We had 27 in my graduating class. And I got to Girls State, and at the time, we were in the Capstone House, which is the high-rise dorm, which was new at the time. And I ended up being in a corner room, which meant there wasn't a bathroom suite. Usually there are two girls in each room with a bathroom suite. I was in a corner room. My roommate didn't show up. So I ended up in a room all by myself, and I was pretty homesick. And had it not been for the great junior counselors and senior counselors, I would have probably gone home. But they talked me into staying, and being there that week, I learned something that really I had never faced a whole lot, being in a little small high school, probably like you, and many of you from very large schools. But the caliber of young people who come to Girls State and Boys State, we usually win. You know, we win a lot. And I had been in that same way, winning a lot. And I got to Girls State, and I started running for office, and I didn't win. I didn't win governor. Well, first, I didn't win chair of the party. I didn't win governor, and we ran over and over and over. Finally, the way we operated it then, I did get elected to the House, and I got to serve as Speaker of the House. But I'll never forget the disappointment I felt. But it was that whole attitude of get back up, dust yourself off, do it all over again. And that perseverance, persevering, collaborating, making friends, I'm going to tell you, that skill and that characteristic that you've learned here, I imagine, this week at Boys State and that I learned at Girls State has come in handy so many times in my life. You heard that I majored in music and I became a music teacher. Here's the thing, go band. But here's the thing that was kind of unusual. And I'll tell you a little bit about how my background now has influenced my focus as State Superintendent of Education. I never had a music teacher when I was in school. In fact, my school didn't have kindergarten. We started in first grade. And we went never knowing that the schools around me had these other options. It wasn't until I got to Lander in college and started going to other schools and observing that I started seeing things that some schools had that I had not had in my school. Now, we had a great foundation. We had great teachers, and I did fine. But as I started to teach and to serve, my husband and I lived all over the country. We came back to South Carolina, and I got a job teaching music at Chapin Elementary School. And go Chapin. And I had there, as a teacher, I had everything you could imagine at your fingertips. I had a keyboard lab. I had a guitar lab. I had a beautiful theater. I had everything you could imagine as resources. But I had this yearning that I wanted to go back home and teach. So a job opened up, and I moved back home to teach. And as the crow flies, it was about 18 miles from Chapin to Hollywood Elementary. And I got back to that school, and I was teaching in an old portable with no air conditioning, an upright piano, and I brought my own record player. And I saw firsthand then the disparity that we have between some schools and others in our state. Now, thankfully, things got a lot better in Saluda. We wrote grants, and we had a bond referendum and built new schools. But I want to tell y'all, you may know this, that disparity still exists in our state of South Carolina. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to run for State Superintendent of Education. Now, I went on and ran for the legislature, but before that happened, my dream was to be the principal of Hollywood Elementary School. And I got back there and I became assistant principal. The job came open for principal. I just knew I had it. Man, I knew everybody on the selection committee. I knew I had the job. Well, guess what? I didn't get it. And at the time, the reason I didn't get it, they said that they didn't think a woman could handle being the principal of a school. What? Right. Well, I'm glad you think differently. So, I cried a little bit. I was devastated. But honestly, it was one of the best things that ever had happened to me. Because had I gotten that job, I probably would have spent the rest of my career there. But instead, a few weeks after I got rejected, the phone rang, and it was our legislator who said, I'm not going to run again, and I think you ought to consider running for the House of Representatives. And I did, and I won. And I went to Columbia, and the rest just started falling in place. But what I want you to understand, young men, it's great to have goals, and you need to set your goals high, and you need to work toward those goals. But oftentimes, at least in my life, the goals that I set, sometimes I didn't reach them. The door slammed, but another opportunity came available to me that I never imagined. It was really better than I had ever dreamed. So I went to the legislature, served 4 terms there, was involved. The lottery scholarship that you receive now is one of the things I was able to work on and help get passed through the General Assembly. I ended up going to work at the Department of Education, learning how a state agency of about 1,000 employees work. I went then and worked for the School Administrators Association and got to know all the principals in South Carolina. And then came 2014. And I was looking for somebody to run for Superintendent of Education. And I asked this person and this person. They said, no, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that. Until finally people said, Molly, it's you. You're the one who needs to run. But quite honestly, I had a really good job. Not a lot of stress, I was making good money, had nice travel. I didn't want to do it. But there was this calling that I felt. And I really do believe it was a divine calling to step up for this public service. It was a brutal campaign. I came out on top, and I am really honored and humbled to serve in this role, to speak for the some 60,000 public school teachers, the 780,000 students. And here are some of the things very quickly that we've been able to do in the last 3 years. Number one, in the last 3 years, we are really put to action when we say that safety is our first order of business. You know that we had these fire-prone school buses. And we spoke out, and over the last 3 years, we've been able to buy almost 2,000 buses, and we just placed the order last week to get all the old 1995s. Those fire-prone buses will be off the road when you go back to school this year. We rewrote our standards. We have college and career-ready standards. And I've worked really hard so that you don't have to take quite as many tests, particularly in 3 through 8th grade. We cut back on 5 tests because I think we're over-testing our students in schools today. And one of the things I'm most proud of, we're also, our new report card that will be coming out in November, instead of just basing how a school is doing on one test, the ACT, that you took this last year as 11th graders, we changed that. And instead now schools will be rated on multiple measures. How many kids are in ROTC? How many students come out with credentials in their hand because they've gone to a technical program and they're career ready? How many students have dual credit courses? All of those things will go into how your school is rated, not just how do people do on one ACT test. In fact, last year in the legislature, we changed it so that you now have a choice that you can take the ACT or the ACT. I think that's what happened with you this year, right? Y'all had a choice? Right, and the state paid for it, and that's the way it needs to work. Now, for the future, there's a lot we've done, a lot more we need to do. And that's why I'm going to run again. And the main focus for these next 4 years is going to be a more competitive salary, better pay for all of our teachers in South Carolina. I'm committed that every student in South Carolina will have access to a school-based mental health counselor and mental health support. And we're also committed that the governance, I really believe this, that in order for all of our students, no matter if you live in Greenville, Columbia, or if you're in Estill, South Carolina, or Saluda, or Orangeburg, or wherever you may be, that when you graduate, you've had the opportunities to get the courses that you need to be prepared. We used to say, just go to college and get a degree. It doesn't matter what degree you get. Those days are over. Young men, you have got to be thinking about what you like doing, what you want to do, what kind of problems you want to solve for the rest of your life, and take the pathway that leads you there. And that's our role as teachers, to help you do that. It may be through a 4-year university like Anderson, or it may be through a technical college, the military, or it may be through a career program that you have at your high school that prepares you for the workforce. So I'm working hard to build the opportunities for every student in South Carolina, and my goal is, in another 4 years, that we really truly can say that when every student walks across the stage to get their high school diploma, that you are ready for success as a citizen, as a productive citizen for this country. Thank y'all so much for letting me be here today.
Question and answer, okay? I'm going to tell them how to do it. What we'll basically do is okay, guys. Superintendent Spearman has agreed to answer questions, and we're going to do this like we always do it. So line up on each side, and we'll start with McGill's side here. And guys, behind the question asker, if y'all will kneel down so guys can see as well as hear, we appreciate that.
Hello, my name is Ty Davis. I'm from the great city of Saluda.
Woohoo! Go Saluda!
And I currently attend Lawrence District 55 High School.
Yes.
And I just want to know, what are some of your ideas to improve our extremely low and unacceptable education rank of 48 in the nation?
Thank you. It's a great question. First of all, there are many different ways to measure schools. And honestly, there was an article that came out about 2 years ago that said that we ranked last, and everybody picked up on that, and that's all you hear. There are many areas where we rank above the national average. For instance, did you all know, how many of you took the SAT? Okay, did you all know that your scores are 14 points above the national average? Did you know that? Now, the ranking, the truth is, if you look at a test like NAEP, NAEP is one that everybody takes around the world. South Carolina ranks about 37th, 38th, okay? So it's not as low as people would make you believe. My job, I think for a long time, leaders, when they just tell you the bad stuff over and over and over and over again, you start believing, and it's hard to believe. Even when we put some commercials up recently telling about the positive things, people are like, you got to be kidding. I had somebody call me, legislator, said, you're putting up propaganda. I said, no, I'm not. I'm just telling the good news. We always hear the bad news, but here's the good news. It's not that way. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that we've got areas in this state with very, very high poverty and long decades of not really having a strong system, and there's work to be done there. And I am out there. We are actually managing 3 school districts right now that we just took over since I've been in office. The secret to it is having, first of all, a really good principal in every school. The principal sets the climate. Teachers say the main reason they leave is they don't feel support, and that means the principal's not backing them up. So the stronger we can have, stronger principals, we're working on that. They also say they leave because of the pay. I asked for a 6% raise this year in the General Assembly. We got it for beginning salaries. I asked for a 2% across the board. Not sure if we're going to get 1 or 2, but that's still not enough. So I'm going to be coming back. We've got to solve this competitive salary. The other thing I'll share with you very quickly, when you rank states in education, the part that they don't tell you is this. Massachusetts usually is number 1, okay? Almost in everything, number 1. What they don't tell you about Massachusetts, this year it became the first state in our country where over 51% of the adults in Massachusetts have a master's degree. Should their children be doing better? Probably so. In South Carolina, we still have about 1/3 of our mothers who do not have a high school diploma. So this is a long-term issue that we have got not just to build our system of K-12, but we've got to work on our adult education as well. But great question. Good school. Somebody over here?
Hi, my name is Andrew McMaster, and I'm from the best city in Boise State, Salkehatchie. I live in Chapin, South Carolina, and I attend Spring Hill High School. And as you know, that's a magnet school, and I'm just curious if you could tell me your thoughts and opinions on magnet schools statewide.
Oh, great question. I think magnet schools are wonderful. I think the more choices we can give students and their families to match your style of learning and your interest is a good thing. And we have lots of choices within the public system. Of course, we have choices outside the public system with private schools and parochial schools. We have charter schools, which are public schools that give lots of options. So I'm a huge supporter of it. I think we need to continue that, and we're supporting those with some additional funding too. So I'm a huge supporter. Thanks for your question. Yes, sir, over here.
All right, my name is Fitzgerald Buffet. I go to Latta High School and from the city of Congaree.
Yes.
And my school, Latta High School, it's a very poor, we live in a poor region. It's very poor. You know, there's mice in the school at times. Teachers give them pet names. My history teacher calls her Stewart. But one thing you talked about is school consolidation.
Yeah.
And also, the Supreme Court last year, or in the past year, for a long time, there was a court ruling that said the state had to fund rural schools more because it wasn't minimally adequate, and they said it wasn't minimally adequate. And I just feel like, it's coming from a rural community that trying to consolidate away our rural schools and trying to take funding away from our schools. I feel like there's a bit of a hostility towards rural schools and trying to press them into becoming larger schools when most of us, I know myself included, don't want to be in larger schools. Okay,
that's a great question because I have been very vocal about the consolidation of some of the smaller districts in the state. We currently have 80 school districts now. Orangeburg is in the process of consolidating from 3 to 1. They range in size from over 70,000 students in a school district. Greenville is our largest to the smallest right now is Barnwell 19, and they have about 590 kids in the entire district. I know that there's some places where, because of geography, you're going to be small, and you can't help it. And when I talk about consolidation, I'm not necessarily talking about consolidating the schools. I believe there is money to be saved by consolidating at the district level, where more money is going into the administration that needs to get down to the classroom. So, because it doesn't take a rocket science to figure it out. If you've got 500 kids in a district and you're paying a superintendent $150,000, figure the cost of that per student versus $150,000 for a superintendent in a district with 30,000 students. So I believe that we have to look at that. I'm not forcing anyone to do that. I am encouraging strongly districts, very small ones right now, to work together. I met with 2 superintendents this past week to see if they're 2 districts, both very small in one county. Will you share your food service director? Don't both of you pay $60,000 for somebody to do that job. Have one and share the cost. So that when I talk about consolidations, that's what I'm talking about at the district level. You can stay in your school. I do think that there would be opportunities in career areas where maybe if y'all had a joint career center that you could all go to, because those are very expensive. So my bottom line, though, is getting the money down for the students and for you to have as many opportunities as you can. But good question. Going all right? One more.
Yeah, only 2 more, guys.
Okay.
One here and one here. Sorry, guys that are waiting. We've got other
I
things
think
that
I
we've got
talked
to
too
take
long.
care of.
I'm sorry.
No,
sorry.
you're good.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, my name is Jarrett Black, and I'm from the city of Ashley. And I attend River Bluff High School, where we practice expeditionary learning. And I was going to ask do you think other schools will adopt this method of learning in the future?
Yeah. Great question. River Bluff is a gorgeous facility and really strong program there, expeditionary learning. And I've been at your middle schools that feed into River Bluff. Yes, we are pushing, we call it personalized learning, some different titles, but the idea is this, and we have established an Office of Personalized Learning at the department. We're giving professional development for teachers all over the state because it needs to bubble up from the classroom. But the idea is this. Don't tell me you want to go back to the good old days like it was when I was in school. Because when I was in school, we all sat in a row. Everybody was on the same page in the book, and we turned the pages together. And if you didn't get it, it's tough because we got to finish the book. You weren't that. You remember that too. Those were not good old days. I think I like it when I walk in a classroom and I can hardly find the teacher because the students are working in groups. They have identified problems that they're working on to solve. They come up with solutions. Sometimes, like at your middle school, they even take their solutions to the county council and say, here's how we think you ought to solve this. That kind of engaged learning is what keeps students from dropping out. If you want to get somebody from dropping out, find something they're interested in and let them engage in it, and they will stay in school. So that is the type, we're learning from the sort of the experiment that y'all are doing at River Bluff. You're one of the first, but we are watching, learning from you, and spreading that style all over the state of South Carolina. Good. Last question.
Hey, my name's Tucker Bledsoe. I'm from the city of PD, and I'm from Sean Thurman High School. Sean Thurman High School.
Oh, good. Okay, Edgefield.
Yes, ma'am. I just have one question. Due to the rising cost of college, would you raise the Hope and Life scholarships?
Okay. I do not have the authority. That rests in the General Assembly to raise the scholarship. Right now, when the scholarship was established, it was supposed to be all funded out of the lottery. And it has been so popular, and you all are studying so hard and making such good grades, that we're actually, most years, having to take some money out of the general fund to subsidize the scholarships. So while I would love to politically say to you right now, oh yes, I want to raise it, something would have to give somewhere else, okay? So I don't know that we'll be able to do that, nor would I be able to recommend that. I do think it's time to look at the scholarship requirements and maybe make some adjustments there. But the bottom line is that it has worked. Having requirements for SAT, ACT scores, GPA requirements for you all to get the scholarships has made our students work harder. Families are interested, and they want you to get that scholarship because it's a tremendous help. So I'd love to tell you that I see that amount rising, but at this time, unless there's just so many needs out there right now, teacher pay is one. The roads, the health system. So, whether the General Assembly has the will to raise additional revenue so that we can do all these things, I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's an excellent question. But congratulations to all of you for working so hard in school. And I guess that's our last question, but if I could just say before I finish, we hear so much bad news all the time. I suffer with this all the time because there's so many good things that y'all are doing in your schools, and I try to be your cheerleader and tell the message out. And it's hard to get people to put it on TV or in the newspapers. But I want you to know how proud I am of you. And I do speak about you all when I go before business groups to say, if you don't think our young people, if you don't think our schools are doing a good job, that tells me you haven't been in one recently. You need to go into schools. You need to go meet these kids. And you need to see how polite, how well-mannered, how articulate, how interested they are. And you guys are an example of that. And it just brings a real hope that I know, even though things can be hard in the world, seeing all of you and knowing how smart and dedicated and what good hearts you have, I know that South Carolina and our whole world is in good hands. So congratulations for being at Boys State.